welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey and today we're going to be doing our quarterly wrap-up. So this is the wrap-up for Q2, which is April, May, and June. And while we're at it, we might as well do the mid-year book freakout tag. I believe this tag was created by Ariel Bissett. I don't know who created this tag, but I got the questions from Carrie over at Carrie Can Read. So those are the questions that I'm going with today. This is a very old tag, a booktube staple. So I feel like a lot of people have done different questions, added questions, taken out questions. That's where I got my questions from. So if anything, blame Carrie. Please do not comment on how sweaty I look. I just got back from Pilates. It is 37 degrees Celsius outside. My son makes a noise with his bouncer because he figured out how to bounce himself. And when I don't turn the bouncer on, he gets a little upset and he bounces himself. So if you hear a thumping and a whacking, that is him exploring his environment. And we're just gonna let him learn. Another disclaimer here that if you don't like the sound of babies whining or talking, to just click out of the video right now. I have very limited time as to when I can record, when I can read, when I can edit videos. So I really can't re-record this video and publish it in a timely manner. So unfortunately, if it's going to bother you, if you're going to leave a comment about it, I don't want to hear it. I don't care. This is your warning to click away if it's going to bother you so much that you cannot listen to the video. It doesn't bother me, which is why I don't necessarily hear it when I'm recording. But if it bothers you, see you later. I'll see you in another video. Okay, bye. So first we'll just get into the quarterly wrap up because I do think that it's probably the shorter aspect of this video. So in the last quarter, I read a total of 33 books. So in April, I read 9, in May, I read 13, and in June, I read 11. That comes out to a total of 10,770 pages read total. Astronomical if you're asking me. And then in regards to the amount of audio that I consumed of those books, that is 239 hours. In terms of moods, the consistency since quarter one has remained. We like books that are adventurous, emotional, and dark. That makes a lot of sense to me. I do tend to read a lot of horror. Adventurous comes obviously from the fantasy that I read. Emotional, I like to cry, so duh. All of that conglomerates into this consistency all year long. Pace, again, much like with quarter one, we're remaining in the medium. That makes sense. I don't really like my books to be fast paced. I don't really like them to be slow paced. I like that there's books in the middle and that's what I enjoy. In regards to pages, we're consistently reading between 300 to 499 pages. That is the biggest bracket of books that I am reading. That makes sense. Most horror falls into that. Most literary fiction, nonfiction falls into that. Fantasy tends to skew it towards the upward, but never enough to beat this section of the pie. Genre, again, mostly fiction, but that nonfiction is really increasing over these quarters. I am enjoying the nonfiction that I'm picking up this year, so I'm really happy about it, and we're going to talk about it in a bit. In terms of format, still mostly audio. With my son getting older and older, he needs more entertainment. He needs to play with me more, so it just makes reading books easier through audio because I can do like both at the same time. And then the average rating is 3.68 for the year so far. That's pretty good. It's above an average of 3.5, but I always tend to remain within this 3.4 to 3.6 range, just with the amount of books that I consume. There's bound to be a couple of duds. And then let's revisit the goals. So we're at the halfway point of the year and let's see how my goals are doing. So I had a goal to read 100 books this year. I am currently at 75 books, so I will most likely be passing this goal with flying colors, which excites me. I had a goal to read 1 nonfiction per month. So I should ideally by June have 6 nonfiction books read, and I have read 12 for the year so far, so I've already completed my goal in June. I do have obviously goals to continue reading nonfiction books, but it's really nice to know that I've already completed that goal. I wanted to read more classics, which I am already doing. So far, I think this year I've read 4 or 5 classics, which is great. It's already an improvement from years previous. I did do a video where I read a classics TBR. I wanted to feel like I was in school again, and I plan to do another one of those videos relatively soon. I am enjoying classics more this year, so that makes me feel really good. I wanted to expand my knowledge, expand my literacy, so that's been a really satisfying goal to have achieved. Dwindling down my YA, I would like to get my YA TBR completely done by the end of the year. I don't think that will be the case. I am currently filming a dwindle down my YA TBR and I have already filmed one. So by the end of this video, I will have already knocked out 6 YA books from my TBR, which is really great. I have goals to donate a lot of them, putting out YA books into my community that are diverse is really important to me, and it's one of the main reasons I want to get these books off my shelves, because I'm not reaching for them. I'm not really into YA that much anymore, but there are members of my community that will be and will enjoy these books or need these books. So that's what's motivating me to really complete this goal. Read more Brandon Sanderson has not been successful. I read 2 Brandon Sandersons this year. His books, I think, are just too large to slot in randomly, and I really have to feel like I'm in the mood for them. I do plan to make this more of a serious goal as the year is going forward, but to do 1 a month like I had at the beginning of the year, I don't see that as being likely, obviously, because I have already failed. Finish Wheel of Time is not complete yet. That goal has not been completed. My willpower to finish this by the end of the year is still very strong. I want this off my TBR. I don't want to go into 2026 with the fucking Wheel of Time books on my TBR. They need to be done. My son was like, oh, damn, mommy, okay. And then trying to post consistently. I've had a couple of weeks here and there where I haven't posted, took it off. But I have to say, for having a newborn son, she's killing it. She is killing it. Now let's get into the mid-year book freakout tag. I did not collect all of the books, and I feel like editing Kelsey is going to be really upset about this, but quite frankly, I don't really care, because I personally right now, while I'm sweating, don't feel like collecting all of them and running around all over my house to look for them. So sorry. The first question is best book you've read so far in 2025, and I definitely have to say it's The City We Became. I knew that I loved N.K. Jemisin because I really loved the 5th season trilogy. That was arguably like one of the best fantasies I've ever read, and I've been scared to pick up from N.K. Jemisin again. This year for the Professor Kelsey's book club, we did read The City We Became, and I loved it. It was my first 5-star book of the year. This follows a kind of like confusing concept, but essentially every city in the world has a personified version of it within the city. New York specifically has 5 souls for the like 5 major boroughs, okay? So they must come together in order to defend their city from this like ancient evil being, okay? But this was just so good. The discussions about gentrification in neighborhoods, the discussion obviously about racism in society, discussions on like who owns art, who owns neighborhoods. Stuff like that was very fascinating and wonderfully done, I think, in The City We Became, because it was very easy to understand. And I think if these concepts sound so big for you, I do think The City We Became is an excellent introduction into these ideas. So I would highly recommend it. I loved it. It's, I think, my favorite book of the year so far. I have the sequel on my TBR. I really do want to read it soon. So it is like something that I just would love to listen to with no pressure. The second question is the best sequel you've read so far in 2025, and for that it's obviously Sunrise on the Reaping. I made an entire blog about the Hunger Games series, my thoughts on it. I absolutely adore that series. I love that Suzanne Collins uses Katniss's story to spark a revolution. The treatment, obviously, of different members of society, keeping people uneducated and below, losing hope of a society. I think all of that is excellently done by Suzanne Collins. Sunrise on the Reaping specifically is this focus on propaganda and how the governments in power utilize propaganda to both scare and make society hopeful. And I think what she was doing here was very on the nose, very obvious. And I think some people might not like that, but for me, it really hit a nail in the coffin. I think I read it at a really good time. And I think reading it after completing a reread of the entire series really helped me. I absolutely love this. I think if you haven't read it yet, what are you doing? New release you haven't read yet but want to. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid is about a female astronaut, which interests me. I do plan to do a Taylor Jenkins reading vlog. Julie Chen is Dead is another new release that I would love to get to. I wasn't really interested in it or wasn't aware of it until it was in an Aardvark book box, and people were loving it, giving it 5 stars, comparing it to Yellow Jackets. It's about a twin sister who takes the life of her twin, who is this social media influencer. Honestly, that did not intrigue me, but then when people were saying it was like Yellow Jackets, I was like, hello? So those are the 2 that I would say are like recent releases that I absolutely need to get to. The next question is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. Obviously, we have Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. She is one of my favorite authors, so obviously I'm going to pick up her newest release. And this sounds fascinating. It is essentially like a dark academia where 2 students follow their teacher into hell in order to get that teacher to write recommendation letters for them. I have multiple degrees, so I know what it is to who need recommendations from teachers to get you into programs. I find that concept very funny. And from what I understand, it's sort of like Dante's Inferno. I read Dante's Inferno for my English degree, so I feel like this really could be a book for me, and I'm very excited about it. And then recently, I just got this in the mail. You're going to see it in my vlog of next week. I got We Love You Bunny by Mona Awad in the mail from Simon & Schuster. What I did to deserve such a pleasure, I don't know. Mona Awad is another one of my favorite authors, so we've had quite a big year for me. This is the second book, so it follows Bunny by Mona Awad, which was about this girl who entered an MFA program. In this MFA program, there was a group of girls that referred to each other as Bunny, and they had a sort of like weekly writing group where they did maybe nefarious acts. And this is the second installment where our main character from Bunny is a best-selling author who wrote about her experience in her MFA program. And from what I understand, the Bunny clique comes back. Both these books sound absolutely amazing to me. Keep your eyes peeled for when I read them, because those are going to be on my favorites list. I know it. Next question is biggest disappointment. I have two for this, but they're both in the same video where I read books like Yellow Jackets. And The Truth by Nick Cutter is one of them. This is about a Boy Scout group who get infested by this man who has an insatiable hunger, and then the disease sort of affects all of the boys on this isolated island. It was very, very gross, not necessarily in a way that I think I appreciated. It really reminded me of like Stephen King books, and Stephen King is very hit or miss for me. Like, there are books I absolutely love of Stephen King, but sometimes his descriptions and unnecessary use of like slurs, stuff like that to just insinuate evilness annoys me, and it happened in The Troop as well, even though the story overall was really interesting. And then the second book that disappointed me, sorry, my son is like sliding off of his bouncer. The second book that disappointed me was Fantastic Land. I forgot who it was by. This was about a park who, when Hurricane Katrina happened, the people that work in the park were isolated and they turned the tides against one another. Okay, I don't exactly remember where I was. Oh yeah, biggest disappointment, Fantastic Land. I don't remember the author, but yeah, it was too fast-paced for my liking, and this is where I come to say like fast-paced books don't necessarily always work for me. I do have some issues with fast-paced books, and I think often I would rather have a too long of a book than too short of a book, and Fantastic Land is one of those examples of that. The next question is the biggest surprises of the year. I do have three. So one of them being The City We Became. Not that it was a surprise that I enjoyed it, but that it was my first 5-star of the year, that it's likely to be one of, if not my most favorite book of the year. So that is what makes that surprising. The reading experience was so fun. I literally had no issues with the book. The second book I have is Shy Girl by Mia Farrow. I requested this from NetGalley, not knowing what to expect. I just knew that it was a horror book, and this blew my mind. It is about a girl who responds to like an ad to be this man's like pet dog, and she like sort of needs the money, so she's down to do it. Doesn't seem like that, like it seems weird, but she's willing to like take it on. The story dives into this like really crazy experience. It was short, but I felt like it was really impactful. There's a lot of trigger warnings, obviously, for sexual violence, sexual assault. There was a lot of things in this book, but I just really enjoyed the book, not necessarily the experience. And then finally we had Lord of the Flies by William Golding. I never read it in high school, so I didn't know what to expect. It's about a group of boys who are marooned on an island, and I absolutely loved it. Did I have issues with it? Of course. It is a classic book. It's written by a boy about boys, so obviously there's going to be some things that I think are a little bit whatever, but I did really enjoy it. I really liked the ending. I loved comparing it to Yellow Jackets. I read it for that Yellow Jackets vlog. It was just so fun, and I'm happy that I read it, and it sort of like sparked my appreciation of classics a little bit more this year, so I really liked that. Next question is favorite new author. I have two. So the first one is Nnedi Okorafor. I read Death of the Author this year. Loved it. Loved the layers of this book. It is on the surface level about a woman with a disability who's fighting for sort of her own agency, autonomy, and writing a book, becoming this like famous author, and we are pairing it with this side story of a book that she is writing about a futuristic like robot versus AI society. It was fascinating what she did with the concept, fascinating what she did with the idea of the death of the author. Everything was really clever, and it reminded me how much I really enjoy Nnedi Okorafor, so I do want to read more from her relatively soon because I enjoyed the experience. And then next is a book I just recently read, which was Bat Eater, and specifically it's by Kylie Lee Baker. She has always been an author I really enjoy ever since I read Keeper of Night by her a couple of years ago. I love the way Kylie Lee Baker writes horror. I love the gore that she adds, the spookiness, the detail of such gore and spookiness. I've never come out of a Kylie Lee Baker book displeased. Bat Eaters and Other Names for Khorasan is another book that I gave 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. So she's just really cemented as an autobi author for me, I think. Next is newest favorite character. I'm going to go with the characters in Sunrise on the Reaping. Obviously, Haymitch is a character that I already enjoy, but I really enjoyed this take on him as a youthful kid, seeing where he started out, comparing it to where we find him in the Hunger Games trilogy was really not enjoyable. It was detrimental to my mental health, but I liked the process of reading and feeling things for Haymitch. And then obviously superseded by my enjoyment of Maisley. I really liked her and her attitude, her spunk, the way she handled being in the Hunger Games and how similar she was to Haymitch when you come to think that they're such different people. That I really enjoyed. And then of course Ampert. I don't want to talk about him. I don't want to talk about anything that happened to him in the book. I don't want to talk about the minuscule little cutie actor they hired for him and how it's going to destroy me. Anyways, I really liked Ampert as well. Book that made you cry, Sunrise on the Reaping. Again, I bawled my fucking eyes out at the end of the vlog. If you want to go watch it, I was really not okay with the conclusion of the book, even though like I knew it was coming because obviously I've seen where Haymitch ends up in the Hunger Games trilogy. So I know what happens to him. I know that he has a very sad life. And yet I was shook and shaken. And then I also cried in Frankenstein by Mary Shelley this year, mostly because I think I'm reading it with a new perspective of motherhood. And so to see a creature be created and then abandoned by the person that created them, and to know that Mary Shelley is possibly writing from a place of postpartum depression was too much, I think, for my postpartum brain to handle. But I have a newfound love for Frankenstein. I would say this is another thing that surprised me this year. It's a classic that I've read in the past that I didn't really enjoy, but now coming to it postpartum, it changed my perspective on it and changed the way that I saw it. So I did really enjoy that, and it did in fact make me cry. A book that made me happy, The City We Became, is a just standout book to me this year. I found The City We Became to be very jovial, very funny. The characters were very entertaining, even though there are some more insidious discussions on gentrification and racism in society underneath the surface of this book. I did find the overall aspect of the book to be extremely fun. It feels like you're reading about superheroes. It is just light and fluffy while also having these necessary conversations. I just really loved it. It really did make me happy. I remember like smiling while reading it. The most beautiful books you've bought this year or received. Ugh. I'm gonna have to get up now. Okay, give me 2 seconds. So I think I woke my son up because I was talking too loud, but I just put him back down. We were at the question about the most beautiful books I got this year. The first of which is these gorgeous paperbacks of the Paladin's Grace series by T. Kingfisher. Like, I'm sorry, this looks like a medieval knight romance, which I do think that's what it is, but it just looks like a nostalgic classic, like 80s step back. I don't know, like I love it. I think it's gorge. So I'm very excited to pick this up. I swear to God, purely because of the cover. I know T. Kingfisher is a good author, a well-loved author, but it's the cover that got me. And then we have this gorgeous edition from Aardvark Book Club. I just recently joined them, so I'm very excited to be collecting their books right now. Should I be reading them? Yes, mind your business. But this cover, first of all, I think just in general is gorgeous. I love religious imagery, even though I'm not religious myself. I do have a Catholic background, so anything Catholic leaning, I'm like, oof. The aesthetics are strong. But for me, it was this gorge cover. Like, hello. Phenomenal work. And the last question for this tag and the last question for this video, that means, is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I did put out a summer TBR video that goes over all of my plans for the rest of summer and what I plan to be reading. But I think I can maybe give you a couple more vlogs that could be interesting. I do plan on doing an author taste test for either Roshani Chomsky or Stephen Graham Jones. That could be really interesting. I then have a reading popular romantasy books. I have read romantasy in the past. It seems like a genre that I would love, so I'm sort of in denial that I don't like it because I don't necessarily enjoy overtly romantic books. I don't like when the romance is the central plot, basically. So I don't always read romance books. There are some times where I enjoy romance books, and I don't see why I can't enjoy romantasy. So it is something that I want to focus on. We have some reading oldest books on my TBR that I want to get to. We Love You Bunny vlog. So all of those are books that I would like to get to, or rather reading plans that I would like to get to by the end of the year. And that's it for this video. If you would like to leave a comment down below, let me know what your best book of the year so far is and your worst book of the year so far is. I would love to know. And if you would like to follow me on any of my other social medias, I do unfortunately leave a link down below to my Twitter, Goodreads, and Instagram if you would like to follow me there, despite the fact that all 3 of those are owned by probably arguably the most horrible people in the world right now. I am a victim of capitalism. I am a victim of social media presence, and so are you. And we might as well just support each other in this unfortunate situation that we are all in as a society. So if you would like to follow me there, you can. And because it is the end of the video, please do not forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. It does wonders for my channel, makes me feel really good. And that's it. I never know how to end these things, so I will see you next time. Okay, bye.